Hey up, right, we're back onto the Bobber Black Project. There's been some delays in this simply because of the weather. This particular job, I'm going to be fitting the SPATZ fork shrouds, which I'll show you in a moment. It's not the kind of job that you want to be doing out in the rain, and unfortunately the garage is full of motorcycles and review stock, and clearing it out for filming there would take an entire day, by which time it will be too late to film anything. So, you know, I need to reorganise the channel, I think, to sort of get things sort of back to how it used to be in the old days when I wasn't as busy and I was able to film more inside the garage. But for the moment, it's impossible. Now, as it stands at the moment, I've got about a 4-hour window in the weather to get this done. It's been raining all night. It's just nicely dried out. The sun's just moved round into a position where the lighting's correct for me to film. But according to the weather forecast, in about 3.5 to 4 hours, it's going to start chucking it down again for a change. So I'm going to try my best to live narrate through this video. If it gets to the point where I'm chasing time, because it does take a little bit longer to do it that way, I may have to abandon that and just finish the video off by narrating as, you know, I used to do it back in the old days. So bear with me on this one, it's all going to be a bit of a rush. Now, before we go any further, can I ask you please, if you enjoy this video, or even if you don't enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. About 70 to 80% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribers, and it's rude and you shouldn't do that. The other thing, while we're on the subject, is people are constantly finding that they've been unsubscribed from the channel and they don't know why. It's something that's always occurred with YouTube, but in recent months it's been worse than ever before. So please check your subscription status and make sure that your notifications are enabled. That way, hopefully, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. Thanks very much. If you think back to the original concept of the bobbers, you know, these were bikes from the 1950s and the 1960s. All would have fork shrouds for attachment of the headlamp, etc. With the Bobber Black, that's been done away with, and it's got a much more minimalist, modern look, which I'm sure some people will love. Some people might want to return it back to a more vintage appeal. That's the whole point of customization, is giving you the choice to do what suits you to your bike. Now, a few years ago, Moton Customs moved over to high pressure die casting of parts. There are two reasons for this, really. One is that it gives you a lot more flexibility in the manufacture of parts, and the other is that it stops people copying your parts, because investing in the equipment to do good quality die casting is expensive. Back in the old days, when Moton were making parts like everybody else does by CNC machining, or by you know, bending bits of metal that have been laser cut or whatever to form the necessary parts, Moton had a lot of problems. You know, they would spend months, sometimes even years, developing these parts and getting them to market, and then someone in China would just buy a pair in and copy them, because all the development work had been done for them. So they moved over to die casting. Now originally the parts were quite expensive, but because a few years have passed now and that sort of financial investment that they put into doing that has been paid for, they're now quite reasonably priced. But obviously the copycat competition haven't invested in the, you know, the ability to do this sort of thing. So Motorn are still way ahead of everybody else with these parts. As I say, these are die cast. They're a very substantial piece of equipment. I have to say, perhaps even over-engineered. We have a mounting lug on each one for your indicators. And in this little packet here, we have a collection of fasteners, some seals, and some blanking plates, which allow you to adapt these mount points to fit M8 or M6 indicators. Right, let's get on with it. Right, first things first, this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I think it's a good idea. These fork stanchions, obviously they're mild steel of some sort that has been hard chrome plated to function as a fork stanchion. The problem is, I don't think I've seen it on the T120, but especially on this side, it's proved itself a little bit prone to rust. You know, the chroming, especially on the left fork leg, sorry, on the right fork leg, isn't as good as it is on the left one. And we've got some pitting. Now this bike hasn't done a lot of miles, so it's not from stone chips, and it seems to be all concentrated around one area. I don't know the reason for that, but you're going to be covering this up, and obviously moisture and condensation is going to collect in here. So I recommend taking some steps before carrying this job out to give them some sort of protection. I found this Built Hamber Dynax Ultra Clear Wax to be one of the best on the market at the moment. It's really quick drying. I'm going to do this first so that it's dried and finished and out of the way by the time we actually get to fitting the part. But this will protect these from rust whenever that part's fitted. Really thin layer is all you require. A little bit heavy on that one. This stuff lasts for years. I've treated parts on my car. I think I've treated 2 or 3 of the bikes all over with this stuff. I've still got at least a third of a can here. Yeah, really handy stuff to have in your garage. And this will stop any rust in its tracks and protect this part from rusting while it's covered up. Now, to fit this part, there are 2 ways you can do it really. You can put the bike up on a jack, remove the front wheel, the mudguard, and then release the fork stanchions and drop the fork out in order to get the part in. That's one way of doing it. Motorn's recommended an easiest way of doing this is to simply remove the top yoke here, so that you can then just slide the parts on and refit the top yoke. The problem with this is once you've released these pinch bolts and taken the top yoke off, these 2 forks are able to compress at whatever rate that suits them because they're not tied in at the top. So you could well have problems refitting the yoke at the end of the you know, the conversion. So the bike needs to be as upright as possible. Now you can't put the bike up on a jack to do that because obviously the front end of the bike here, it's not going to have anything holding the steering in place, so the whole assembly is likely to drop down. So I would recommend you put the bike on a paddock stand to do this conversion. That keeps everything nice and straight and it keeps the weight down on the front wheel. So I'll do that now. I'll just put piece of wood under here. Get it as straight as we can. And there we go. Simple as that. Right, next up, we can't get at the boss and the nut that holds the top yoke in place with the handlebars in place, so we're going to have to loosen those off and rest them back on the tank while we're doing this conversion. Not a huge job. And just tip back like that. You've now got access to the boss and the retaining nut underneath. Like I say, make sure you protect your tank. I think these are actually drying towels that Autobike Direct sent me some time ago. I don't know whether they still do them, but they are really thick, so they're perfect for this sort of job. Right, a bit of a cock-up on the filming front here. I recorded the removal of the boss nut that holds the top yoke on. For some reason, the file's missing from the card. You require a 38mm socket to remove it. Now, this particular nut is wound on a whacking 90 Newton meters. So you may well need a breaker bar to remove it. Simply take that nut off and then skip to this bit that you're about to see now. Right, so it's now a matter of just loosening off these two pinch bolts. And it might need a bit of persuasion because it's been on there for quite some time, but in theory we should now be able to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these out all together. And we should in theory now be able to persuade this off. Right, I've got a little bit of wood here that I can just use as a drifter, just so I can get the angle on it. As you can see, it's moving up. You certainly can't just lift it off. Although I suppose every bike's going to be different. Nearly there. And I think we're about there with it. It should lift off now. Now I'll put a cloth on the front of the bike here, but I honestly don't know how much slack we're going to have on this. I think the best bet is probably, yeah, we should be able to sort of leave that in place and just manipulate it about as we fit the parts on. Now, in your kit, you will find altogether 4 O-ring seals. If you look at the actual SPATZ itself, it's machined out on the inside to accept those seals. So what you need to do is just pop them in place, ensuring that they go securely into that groove that's been machined out on both sides. This is just to help keep weather and moisture out, because as I said, those forks, they are prone to rusting. Now you also see that we've got some tapped threaded holes in the back. There's some grub screws in the kit, 4 altogether, 2 for each SPATZ, and they're just to help set it in place once you've actually slid it onto the bike, so it doesn't spin around once it's fitted. Right, so now for the moment of truth. Obviously, with these SPATZ you have a left and a right. Technically, if these are fitted according to how Motorn designed them, this is the left-hand side one with the lug on the outside, so that you can fasten your indicator onto it and it's clearly visible. The truth is, Motorn said that different customers have fitted these in different ways, so you don't have to do it that way if it doesn't suit you. It's entirely down to what equipment you are fitting to these SPATZ. Now, I've put the grub screws in because it is a bit of a fiddly job. Just be careful you don't lose these. It's better to fit them before you fit it onto the bike than trying to fiddle about at the back here, putting them on when it's on the bike. But don't screw them in all the way. Make sure that they don't protrude on the inside. And these are just to sort of lightly lock it in place once it's fitted and you've got it positioned up. So the O-rings are fitted, the grub screws are fitted, and we're going to orient this how Motorn designed it, so it will be that way up. I'll get on with that now, fingers crossed. Yeah, we just need to get a clear run at it. You shouldn't have any trouble with that O-ring. It is fitted quite securely, but obviously just pay attention to it as you're fitting this, and it needs to go all the way down to the bottom, as you see there, so it's touching the bottom yoke. Now we'll do the same on the other side. So same thing again, just make sure there's no grit or anything. This wax oil that I put in, by the way, will act as a lubricant, and it will actually help you fit this. It's got on easy yet. All the way on. It is quite a tight, satisfying fit actually. Right, so they're both down as far as they will go. It gives it, and I've got to say, it gives it a nice chunky look at the top here. Yeah, that's a nice look, I like that. So it's now a matter of getting the yoke back on. Right, so I've got my rubber mallet handy for doing this. Good idea just to give these a wipe over before you attempt to refit the top yoke. Make sure you haven't disturbed any of the wires and cables and put them in the wrong place. Let's just make sure that it slides on smoothly and that there's no grit in the way that might scratch anything. I've got my rubber persuader at the ready just in case we need a little bit of help. So make sure I've got all the cables out the way. Just checking that we've got no cables trapped under there. Make sure it's at the right angle. You see, if you try to do this with it on its side stand, one leg is going to compress more than the other, which will put this all out of kilter, so you'll have absolutely no hope in hell of getting this yoke back on. You might get it off, but you won't get it back on. So it is important that you keep these straight on both sides. And I think we're on. Yeah, that's a very, actually that doesn't really want to move much on its own. That's a nice, neat and tidy job. I do like the way that looks. I was a bit undecided about these, but yeah, I'm sold. Now, one thing I didn't mention, probably because I didn't realise, there is a spacer or washer which goes back into the yoke at the top here. Make sure you replace that. And I would recommend fastening your yoke down before you put your pinch bolts back up. That'll just ensure that this is you know, all tightened up at the correct height and that nothing's out of kilter. Right, instead of putting the brass boss on, we've got this rather nice black titanium item from Motorn Customs, which I think, you know, matches in nicely with everything else. Now the issue with something like this, of course, is with it being painted, you've got to be very careful when you're fitting it, because otherwise you'll scratch it, and this has to be tightened up to 90 Newton meters. Right, so we need to protect the powder coating on this. Luckily, with my big socket that I've got, I think it's a big Sealy that I have, there is just enough slack to get this on. What you might find, I'll just unscrew it and show you, there is a little bit of powder coat residue on the inside of the threads, which might make it feel a little bit tight as you wind it on. Don't worry about that. You know, Motorn know what they're doing, and it's just one of those things when you're powder coating parts like this, it's unavoidable. We've had this with other parts that were fitted on the bikes over the years. So what I would recommend, cover it over to protect the threads. You're probably going to have to do this in parts. Make sure that it engages properly, and then wind it on. And you might have to sort of take the cloth off and adjust it a few times as you do this. It just makes sure that you don't end up marring that nice new powder coated titanium part that I don't know what the cost, but well, it won't be cheap. So I'll go ahead and wind this on. It needs setting to 90 Newton meters according to the Triumph manual. Right, I can feel that tightening up now, so time to get the torque wrench on it. Right, so I've got my torque wrench set up to 90 Newton meters. Oh, sorry, I'll just kick the camera then. Let's brace my leg. And there we go, 90 Newton meters. And not a mark on it. Right, it looks like my luck is running out. It's starting to rain. It's about an hour and a quarter early. Lovely. So Handlebars back in place. Get the threads started. Yeah, I knew I was going to be chasing the weather today. It's been the same for weeks now. You just can't plan anything because the weather causes an issue with everything that you need to do. You know, you don't want to be messing around with my spanner in when it's chucking it down with rain, because A, it's not pleasant. Oh God, here it comes. And B, it can be dangerous because things slip, things get scratched. It's just not a scenario you want to be entertaining, really. And then on top of that, you know, I've got to watch the camera equipment because it's not waterproof. And my big camera that I use, if it gets one drop of water in it, it has a tendency to just shut down, and then it's out of commission, often until the next day when everything's dried out, which means I'm going to absolutely throw it down in a minute. You can see it. So right, I'm going to get the camera out the way and go ahead and just reattach the handlebars, and then hopefully we can find a gap in the rain to finish off showing you what I need to show you. I'll see you in a minute. Well, you can go ahead and just put your pinch bolts in loosely. Don't tighten them up yet, because you need to have a bit of movement in these if necessary. Yeah, they feel a bit stuck. I'm sure we'll be able to move them. Yeah, so we might need to just adjust those very slightly, and fastening the pinch bolt down might not help with that. So leave your pinch bolts just finger tight for the moment. Right, so I've got these. I lined these up right from the start, so there was no need to adjust them. But you might just need to swivel it either way. Basically, it needs to be linear with the front wheel, as you would expect. It is pretty solid, is that? It's not really going anywhere. So I'm not entirely sure how necessary these grub screws are, but they're there, so we'll use them. So just tighten these up until the threads stop, because at the end of the day you don't want to be marking those chrome stanchions, and I think that's it. You don't want to be marking those chrome stanchions. Oh, that's good. Right, that's tight there now. Don't over tighten these. They're just to stop it from swiveling around, which I don't honestly think is going to be an issue anyway. The bottom one was a bit tight because, again, we just had a little bit of that powder coat residue on it, and that's tight enough. No need to go mad with these. So that's the left one done, and then over to the right hand side. As I say, it's worth fitting these grub screws before that's done, before you go ahead and put the spats on. Otherwise, especially these bottom ones, I'm trying not to get my head in the way, which might obscure the camera. So once again, I can't really see what I'm doing. Yeah, trying to get these threaded in, because they're only tiny, trying to get them threaded in, and that's it. While it's fitted, it's going to be a nightmare. You're bound to lose one. Right, so that's all done up, and I'll show you how these work now. Now, I'm not going to set these up and wire them in, because we've got a set of Motone's new icon indicators coming, which are going to replace these little picos that we've got on. it's just a matter of showing you all the different options for these bikes that are available. That's the whole sort of idea behind this series, really. So I've got a spare set of Picos, and I'm just quickly going to fit one of those in and show you how the adapters work to give you an idea, but we'll actually do the wiring in, etc. When the new icons arrive. Right, I could have sworn I had a spare set of icons. In fact, sorry, not icons, Picos. In fact, I'm sure I do, but it's about to absolutely bucket it down, so I haven't got the time to waste looking for them. In your kit, you comes with a set of 4 blank covers. Just have a look at the sizes on these. You've got 2 10mm and 2 8mm, I think. And these allow you, these just clip in place. They're designed to clip into the actual, wrong way around. To blank it off, if you just put in an accessory like the Pico or the icons in. If you want to fit the originals, these are designed to take them, and you would use that without the adapter plate. So you can if you wish. Why you would want to, I don't know, but you can if you wish. Put your originals back on. God, I don't know what's going on with this weather. One minute it's bright sunshine, the next minute it's chucking it down. Yeah, I think these are a bit too long, but that gives you an idea of how they work. Of course, when it comes down to it, I will be showing you these with the new icons when they arrive. Right, so all that remains to be done now, we've just dry fitted the original indicators onto it to give you an idea of how they're fastened, and I'll do some shots of that to show you later on. And that's the wrong Allen screw, Allen key. Your pinch bolts, your top pinch bolts, they don't require an awful lot. The manual says 25 Newton meters, which, yeah, it's really not a lot at all. I will do that after I've finished filming, because once again the clouds are closing in above us, and I don't know how much time I've got, so I'll try to summarise this. I mean, once again, it's typical Motorn Customs quality. No one else is building parts to this standard, or at least nobody that I'm aware of. Motorn Customs, they stand out all on their own. I suppose, you know, they're the standard really that every other manufacturer is constantly trying to beat. The fact that these are precision die cast, as far as I'm aware, it means they're the only company that's been able to bring a part like this out. I mean, I suppose you could do it the way that Triumph do it at the factory, just a piece of bent mild steel and paint it black, but the whole point of customization is to, if you can, improve the quality of the parts that you're fitting, and that wouldn't be an improvement. I think you know, you would be substantially taking a step backwards. It gives it that meaty, chunky, sort of muscular look at the front end of the bike, which I think is going to appeal to a lot of people. Okay, these indicators don't do it justice. We took these off because they look bloody awful, but we are going to be addressing that in the next few weeks. I'm sorry if this video seems rushed, but it's just you're constantly chasing the weather at the moment, or the weather's chasing you. You know, we've had a couple of rain spats while I've been doing this, and I thought it was game over. Luckily, it's held off just long enough, but there's some really nasty dark clouds building up above us now, and I don't think I've got much time left. So I will leave links both for the SPATZ and for the new Boss that I've fitted, the Titanium Boss, in the video description down below the video here for people to have a look at. I won't go into the price because, you know, as videos age, price becomes irrelevant. I can tell you something's £100 in a video, then 2 years later it's £120. So it dates the videos, and then people start complaining at me that I've given the wrong price out. So have a look for yourself. But, you know, for what they are, a fantastic piece of engineering, which no one else has managed to pull off as yet. I think they're very reasonably priced. The Boss, I didn't have a look at. I don't know how much that is. So, but I will leave a link in the video description down below. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so, helping to support my channel. I really do appreciate it. It really does help, you know, move the channel along. Now, I'm sorry today's video has been a bit rushed. As I say, at the moment, we just seem to be at the mercy of the weather all the time, so it makes fitting videos like this difficult. I do appreciate your patience with me today. Hopefully things are going to get better as the bike season goes on. I will, of course, be back next week, so until then, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.